Have you ever wanted to see what would happen if you threw some anime characters into D&D and instead of making them the players or even human NPCs, you made them monsters? Well, specifically for 5th edition, but still, you get my point. I'm going to be turning, at least for now, Dabi into a monster in D&D. And it's going to be kind of inspired by some creatures, some ideas in D&D, and I'm going to obviously make him still Dabi, but if he was basically mutated into a monster. And I bet you'll be a bit surprised by his difficulty rating, or his CR. Okay, let's go over the character of Dabi first, and then see how we're going to translate him into a monster in D&D, pretty much. So, in his personality, first off, one of the biggest haters. He's one of the people willing to kill himself just to kill someone else, just to hurt them. It's crazy how far he's going to try and, hurt his dad. I get why, but also at the same time, my God, man, that is crazy amount of hate. But he's also chaotic and kind of just floats around, does his own things on the side, but just kind of goes wherever. That's kind of how he ended up in the League of Villains. So those are some things to keep in mind. The way he fights is, if I remember, he does some hand-to-hand combat, but also the main thing is the fire. He's using cremation as quirk the whole time. Throwing fire, like a lot of things like that. People who've been around on this on this channel know that I play Dabi a lot. So obviously I know how his quirk works. And speaking of that, if you don't know how his quirk works for some reason, hot blue flames that burn hotter than his dad's, but he got his mom's ice quirk, so he was kind of stuck. Well, his ice quirk is just in his body. His body's made for ice. It is not made for fire, so it hurts him all the time. And I gotta imagine it's way more than normal just because it's fire. And because of that body. Yeah, nah, that's not a good situation. But I also wish they showed more of his resistance to ice, since that's what his body's made for. I know it makes him kind of a good counter to Shoto, especially, just with the super hot flames, but also the body made to handle ice and super cold temperatures. So now to kind of explain how I got to the idea you're going to see here in a few minutes. Since he does just to do what I explained, he floats around until his own goals. He is someone born of someone else's kind of experiments by Endeavor. He looked for Ray just to have, a fire and ice kid. He got Fire and Ice Kid, but he got someone who had hotter flames than him, but again, cold body. He was made for ice. And, his whole backstory. And he was considered a failure. And he ended up with the stitching. So, obviously, I want to keep mainly the fire and the stitching. Those are most important. And I went with stitching first. Okay, what already has stitching in D&D that's a monster? One of the basic and kind of easy choices that I ended up going with was the flesh golem. When I ended up looking into it, it's just Frankenstein, and you normally take, spirit, put it in there, and, it lives, but it's also someone's creation of multiple different pieces of other people, so I think it fits really well with that whole thing with his dad and Endeavor basically doing that. But then again, another thing is the fire. So, the thought there is instead of the normal, elemental of the earth plane that I saw was normally there, it's a fire elemental. But it's a specific kind of one, and I'll explain it more later. So now, for the reveal of what he looks like. Just be prepared, he is based off the flesh golem, so if you don't like decaying bodies, you can look away now. Yeah. Here he is. Now that you've gotten a good look at him, I'm going to describe his visuals a little bit other than what I already said. He's based off Flesh Golem. He's got the stitching like Dabi does. He's got the fire coming out of him because I thought that'd be cool. And when I thought of it, I just immediately pictured black mohawk instead of his normal full head of hair. And kind of harkens it back to him, so that way you see the black spiky hair and the blue flames, and you do kind of think of Dabi. But yeah, that's kind of all I got to say about the visuals. I do really like it. It looks really cool. And it should be off the screen now for anyone who didn't want to look at decaying body, which is fair, but it's off the screen now, so you're all good. Now, here's the stat block, which I really like. So obviously the name Cremation Flesh Golem makes sense. Dabi's name is supposed to mean cremation, his quirk is cremation, and it kind of makes sense where he's a dead body burning from the inside, which I'll explain more later. You can see the armor class and health a bit higher, his speed's a bit lower. But the stats are kind of the same, just a little bulked. You know, he's got some immunities and conditions. I will say he is vulnerable to fire damage, which will be explained more even going through this. He still has some normal flesh golem stuff, but I'm gonna specify a couple of things. He has something called Burning Soul, that every time he attacks, he takes a 1d4 damage to himself. You know, kind of going back to Dabi's body, not handling the fire and how it hurts him over time. So it makes sense for this monster to have that. You can also do Hot Touch, which just do 1d4 damage, or not damage, sorry, healing, whenever anything like ice or water is near him, and it kind of helps cool off the burns, which is like what I was talking about. They should have utilized that more with Dabi's cold resistant body. But yeah, you can obviously do fire magic, you know, a couple easy spells like that. But the main actions is what I want to get into. Hot Hands, basically, you know, touches them. Hot does the damage. Well, I guess not touch them because it's bludgeoning damage. They are kind of just swinging their arm while they have the fire coming out of it, which again will do damage to them. And then the blue flame ball, basically a fireball with a little less damage, but a little bit more intensity, I think. And also smaller scale because it makes more sense. It's using the power of something else instead. It's not really going to know how to fully do the things right. But I did technically make it a legendary monster because of this main thing. And if you have not seen the ending with Dabi, you haven't seen, you know, last season or two, you can skip ahead. Don't blame you. But just so you know, the Cremation Flesh Golem will die due to the burning of the attack, you know, the legendary attacks. And what it is Fire Soul Bomb. And it detonates in a roaring sphere of fire and concussive force. You know, it's basically a bomb that goes off. And that is callback to when he was going to basically set himself off like a bomb to kill himself. But yeah, if he uses that, it will kill him. But it's like a last resort thing, or, and you'll see why it would be more relevant later on. I'll explain it better. And yeah, the origins and lore, like I just said, I would give you. It's a flesh golem, and the way you normally make it, like I said, is you, in the final step, infuse the body with the spirit of the elemental plane of earth, not necromantic magic. But the person who was creating it wanted a fire-based one instead, thinking it would maybe give it more energy, a more burning fuel to fight with, and even use fire magic. So instead, he tried to put a fire elemental in there. And he ended up pulling one from either elemental chaos or the elemental plane of fire. And they sacrificed the golem stability for its destructive power. And they ended up putting in a pure flame elemental, which is a homebrew thing, but it fit perfectly because of the blue flame it gives off. And because of that, it is a lot more dangerous. But because it is so intense, it ends up harming the golem because it wasn't made for this. So it was kind of a failure and that it will end up deteriorating and burning itself over time just from existing. And if you want to use this, here's a couple, DM hooks or ways you can introduce it in a campaign. If you want some kind of thing earlier on, something more like a rumor because of being a level 10, basically, you can say, you hear rumors of mages creating a burning beast in constant pain, whose screams of burning pain can be heard deep in the forest. Obviously, worded better than I did, but that's the basic idea. Rumors of something that howls in pain in the night, or something that was made by mages trying to experiment. Flaming beast. If you're in the middle of a campaign, I'm thinking you're going from level 1 to 20, about the time you might, encounter one. It can be something like, your party is woken by screams of something inhuman in deep burning pain. You follow it and see a glowing man, but as you get closer, you see stitches and blue flames raising from the openings in its skin. You see it seems to create a blue sun in its hands, and is ready to launch it at you as he yells in pain. And that can, start an encounter with it. Or, if you want to somehow involve it in the endgame, you can kinda use it like this. As the boss escapes, he leaves a burning corpse stitched up in his place. As it rises, it seems to burn blue and get hotter and hotter, almost like a blue firebomb about to burst. And then you can use it as a thing that it leaves behind as a twist to end up, it set a trap for the players, and your boss can escape. Or they can use that as something they have to, save a city, save the town, or something like that, because it's basically a suicide bomber. Yeah, that's probably not the best way to put that, but that is what it is. And again, here's the stat block. You can take a screenshot of it if you want. If I'm smart, I'll put something in the description, the link to it. But yeah, if you stick to this point, well, thank you for watching. If you have any ideas who else from not just My Hero Academia, but anime I should turn into a monster, let me know. And yeah, if you want to see more of these, subscribe. If you didn't like it, let me know why in the comments, and I'll try and do better, or I'll laugh at you, depending on how bad it is. Have a good rest of your afternoon, evening, or night, and thank you.